Mngani, welcome back to Mama Thando's isiZulu classroom, where learning isiZulu is fun. isiZulu simnandi. Igama lami uMama Thando. Lo igama lakhe ukhomba. Ubani igama lakho? Ngiyajabula ukukwazi. Mngani, let's sing the Sawubona song and greet all our friends around the world. Sawubona, sawubona, unjani mngani? Sondela hlala phansi, sifunda mngani. Mngani, unjani? Unjani? How are you? Well, to answer that question perfectly, I think we should sing imizwa yethu first. Imizwa yethu. Imizwa yethu. Mina nginemizwa, wena unemizwa, yena unemizwa, bona banemizwa, sonke sinemizwa. Mina nginjani, ngabe ngiyaphila, ngabe ngidumele, ngabe ngikhathele, ngabe nginjani. Mina ngiyaphila, ngabe wena unjani, ngabe uyaphila, ngabe uyagula, ngabe ujabule. Wena uyaphila, yena unjani? Ngabe udangele, ngabe ukhathele, ngabe unene. Yena uyaphila, bona banjani? Ngabe bayaphila, ngabe bayakhala, ngabe bathokozile. Bona bayaphila, thina sinjani? Ngabe siyaphila, ngabe sineme, ngabe sijabule. Thina sijabule, thina sijabule. Now I'll ask you again. Mngani, unjani? Thank you for letting me know. Mina ngiyaphila, ngiyaphila. Oh mngani, we have a wonderful day of learning today. Let's get started with that work. The other day, uLwesithathu, we spoke about how to say, I am Mama Thando, instead of saying, my name is Mama Thando. We said, Ngingu Mama Thando. Ngingu Mama Thando. And this, of course, is Khomba. So if Khomba is speaking for himself and telling us his name, which I'm going to be Khomba for a second, then it will be like this. Ngingu Khomba. Ngingu Khomba. He said, I am Khomba. He just said it in my voice. Now, Mngani, I'll ask us to introduce ourselves again. You must also remember to say, I am, and then say your name. Make sure you read the words on the screen. I am is Ngingu, and then you say your name. Don't have a break or a pause between your name and that first part, Ngingu. It's all together as one longish phrase. Now, Ngingu Mama Thando. Mina Ngingu Khomba. Now, let's do this now. The question, who are you? Not what is your name, but rather who are you, is ungubani. Now I'm going to be careful how you say this because it's exactly the same way in isiXhosa, the language of Mama Winnie Mandela, Steve Biko, Nelson Mandela. So it's not isiZulu. There are quite a lot of differences between the two languages, but there are quite a few similarities as well. So they also say ungubani, but differently from isiZulu. So make sure that you're saying it the way that I am saying. Remember to copy me when I speak. So let me say that again. Who are you? Ungubani. 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 Repeat that after me, Mngani. Ungubani. Very good. You don't want to sound like what they did on the Black Panther movie, where they were saying it in a strange way, but they were trying to speak in isiXhosa, but it sounded really funny. I'm going to put a clip on it right here. Ungubani, indingu indidaka. Now, Mngani, let's now introduce ourselves once more. But now I'll be saying, I am Mama Thando. I am Komba. Who are you? And then you will say, I am, and say your name. And then I will say, I'm happy to meet you. Or nice to meet you. Now let's start. Ngingu Mama Thando. Mina ngingu Komba. Ungubani. Ngiyajabula ukukwazi. See that, Mngani? You've now learned how to introduce yourself in two different ways. That was brilliant, Mngani. You did great. Now, Mngani, let us move on to the days of the week in isiZulu. I would like you to repeat each word of the day of the week after me. We are going to say them in the normal speaking pace. We are not going to slow the words down. We are not going to take any pauses or breaks between each syllable. Now, make sure that you look at my mouth so that you can see how I am shaping my mouth and moving my mouth, and my tongue, if you can see that as well. That will be great. Now, let's start. Isonto. Umsombuluko. uLwesibili. uLwesithathu. uLwesine. uLwesihlanu. uMgqibelo. Wonderful, Mngani. Now, let's sing the days of the week in isiZulu. Remember, Mngani, for this song, you can snap your fingers, clap your hands, stomp your feet, chigiza, as long as you're recalling those days of the week and making sure that you are pronouncing them correctly. Let's start, Mngani. Isonto umsombuluko, lwesibili uLwesithathu, lwesine uLwesihlanu, kube uMgqibelo. Izinsuku, 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 izinsuku. One more time, but faster. Isonto umsombuluko, lwesibili uLwesithathu, lwesine uLwesihlanu, kube uMgqibelo. Izinsuku, 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 izinsuku. Can you go faster than that? I think we can. Let's try. Sonto umsombuluko, lwesibili uLwesithathu, lwesine uLwesihlanu, kube uMgqibelo, izinsuku. That was fun. Now, mngani, we last saw each other on Wednesday. So which means yesterday was Wednesday. Izolo bekuLwesithathu. Repeat that after me, mngani. Izolo bekuLwesithathu. Wonderful, mngani. Which makes the day before that to be Tuesday. uLwesibili. Kuthangi bekuLwesibili. Repeat that after me, mngani. Kuthangi bekuLwesibili. Great. Kusasa, tomorrow, it will be Friday. Review Friday. Kusasa kuzobe kuLwesihlanu. Repeat that after me, mngani. Kusasa kuzobe kuLwesihlanu. Wonderful, mngani. So, mngani, if izolo bekuLwesithathu, kuthangi bekuLwesibili, kusasa kuzobe kuLwesihlanu, then uLwesingaki namhlanje? That is correct, mngani. Let's put it on the board. That's wonderful, mngani. uLwesine. Namhlanje uLwesine. Repeat that after me. Wonderful, mngani. uLwesine, uLwesine, uLwesine. Namhlanje uLwesine, uLwesine, uLwesine. Namhlanje, yebo, uLwesine namhlanje. Now, mngani, you did really, really well, by the way. Now, mngani, I would like to know what the weather is like. Linjani izulu namhlanje? Linjani izulu namhlanje? Liyabanda, liyashisa, linjani namhlanje? Linjani izulu namhlanje? Yebo mngani, you can go and look out the window and come back and tell me what the weather is like. Linjani izulu namhlanje, liyabanda, liyashisa. Hawu subuyile. Linjani izulu namhlanje? Oh, you always have nice weather. That's not fair. I didn't have such great weather yesterday and you were having really nice weather. Whew, I'm jealous. Well, mngani, I would like to know what the weather is like here where Mama Thando's isiZulu classroom is. Well, actually, I think you could hear it too. Can you hear it, mngani? I can hear it too. But let's just make sure we are hearing the right thing. Let's call the imaginary window. Let's call him together. Remember, we must say imaginary window. Woza. Imaginary window. Woza. Here is the imaginary window. Sawubona imaginary window. Ngicela ukubona emnyango. Ooh, look at that. We were hearing the correct thing. We were hearing right, mngani. Look at that. Whew. What do you see and what do you hear? Yebo mngani. ngizwa imvula, ngizwa imvula, wena awuzwa, wena awuzwa, chapha chapha imvula, chapha chapha imvula, sengilethiwe, sengilethiwe. Yebo mngani, imvula, the rain, imvula. A lot of rain too. Yeah. We need the rain though because it is autumn or ukwindla, ukwindla, and it will be winter soon. So our plants do need that water. So let's thank the imaginary window and let's get on with our work. Ngiyabonga imaginary window. Now mngani, we saw and heard the rain, imvula. How do we say it is raining ngesiZulu? That's correct mngani, liyanetha. Now I'd like us to say that in a full sentence. Now mngani, repeat after me. Namhlanje izulu liyanetha. Very good mngani. We are done with isimo sezulu, the weather. The weather, when we speak of the weather in isiZulu or the weather forecast, we say isimo sezulu. Let's check if Andile is dressed just right for namhlanje. So mngani, Andile is about to go to the neighbor's house, his friend's place, to play there. I would like you to just check with me if he is dressed right for namhlanje and then describe what he is wearing before he goes. Let's do that together mngani. Sawubona Andile.
Sawubona Mama Thando.
Unjani?
Ngiyaphila.
Hayi nami ngiyaphila Andile. We just wanted to check your clothes and see if you're dressed just right for the weather. You look like you are. He is dressed warm, isn't he? He is wearing a sweater, a pullover, a jersey, which in isiZulu is ijezi, which we said is borrowed from English, a jersey. He is wearing long pants, ibhulukwe. He is wearing sneakers, amateki. I would like you to write these sentences down and say, Andile is wearing a yellow jersey, Andile is wearing black pants, and Andile is wearing gray tekkies or gray sneakers. Feel free to pause the video right here so you can write all of those sentences down and then press play so we can continue with describing Andile's clothes. Now mngani, let's see, how did you do? Let's describe Andile's clothes. Andile is wearing a yellow jersey. U-Andile ugqoke ijezi eliphuzi. Repeat that after me mngani. U-Andile ugqoke ijezi eliphuzi. Very good mngani. U-Andile ugqoke ibhulukwe elimnyama. Repeat that after me. U-Andile ugqoke ibhulukwe elimnyama. Very, very good. Lastly, u-Andile ugqoke amateki ampunga. Repeat that after me. U-Andile ugqoke amateki ampunga. Wonderful, mngani. Now, mngani, let's say bye to Andile. Does anyone want to say what Andile will then say to us when he is leaving? Because there's more of us. There's just one of him, but there's more of us. So what is he going to say when he leaves us behind? That's correct, mngani. He won't say sala kahle mngani, because it's not just one friend. There are many friends here. So he will say salani kahle. Very, very good, mngani. Now let's say bye to him. Hamba kahle Andile.
Salani kahle.
Do you hear that? That was really good, mngani. Now let's move on to the sound of this week. The sound of the week is made up of the letters N and C. So when you see it in a word, there will be only vowels around it. So on the left of it and on the right of it, there will be vowels. There won't be another consonant. It will just be N, C. For example, on the word that we saw yesterday, which was a verb, isenzo, it said ncika, ncika, to lean on or to lean against something. There is nothing before the sound NC, but after it, there is the vowel unkamisa, I. Do you see that there is no other consonant around it? That's what we're talking about. Those two letters or consonants that make the sound N. Now, I'm going to come closer to you so that you can pay more attention to my mouth. Ngani, to make this sound, I have to lift my tongue a bit. You don't have to do it with your mouth wide open like I do sometimes when I'm showing you something. But you lift your tongue, the front bit of your tongue, not the tip only. This is the tip only. I'm talking about this whole front bit of the tongue. You lift it up. It will touch your front teeth at the top, right behind them, and the first bit, that front bit of the roof of your mouth, your palate. Just that alone, not the whole roof of your mouth, just the front. Now lift your tongue up. Make sure that it's soft when it gets there so that it is covering the front here. Now, I want you to make like you are pulling your tongue back and down. So it will be like you are sucking your teeth and then dropping the tongue. Like this. Very, very good, mngani. Now, I am going to tell you three words today with this sound. They are going to have the vowel O, the letter O in English. Ngoma, ngoma, which is to praise. So if you're praising someone for a great job, like I always do when you do well in your pronunciation or writing your sentences or speaking. Ngoma. Repeat that after me, mngani. Ngoma. Very good. Now I just want to tell you that if something that someone has done is really good, and you say, oh, what a wonderful thing you've done, and you say, this is such a praiseworthy thing, so something that is worthy of praise, something that is worthy of congratulating. In isiZulu, we say, ncomeka, ncomeka. Repeat that after me. Ncomeka. That's the verb. Now, one of my friends growing up had such a beautiful name. Her name was Ncomeka. Ncomeka. Her parents were saying, what a wonderful thing we have been blessed with. We've been blessed with a baby. And what has been done for us is something worthy of praise. Ncomeka. Now, the verb ncomeka and the person's name ncomeka are not pronounced the same, even though they mean exactly the same thing. The reason for that is that as we speak, we do try to say some words in a more fun way, in a more interesting way. For example, my name is Thando, and love in isiZulu is uthando. But people don't call me Thando. A lot of people call me Thando instead of Thando. So when it comes to names, a name that is actually a verb or a noun might sound differently when we are now saying the verb itself or the noun itself. Now, moving on to the next word, which is ngokola. Ngokola. That is to tell a joke. Now, repeat that after me, mngani. Ngokola. Very good, mngani. You are doing very, very well. And ngokola is to tell a joke. So if I say, ngiyangokola nje. Did you hear that? Ngiyangokola nje. That means I am just joking. Now, say it with me. Ngiyangokola nje. Wonderful, mngani. That was great. The last word I would like you to learn namhlanje is ngishana. Ngishana. That's to be stingy. Repeat it after me. Ngishana. Very, very good, mngani. That's to be stingy. So if I say, my friend is stingy, I would say, umngani wami uyangishana. Now, mngani, I would like to compare the sound NC and the sound C. Let's look at a word that has an O right after the C, which is iconsi, a drop. We learned it when we were learning of the sound. Iconsi. Say it after me, mngani. Iconsi. Very good. Now, let's say the word we learned just now. Ngoma. Ngoma. Now, mngani, compare those two now. Say one after the other and feel how your tongue is a little softer with just the C and a little stiffer, just a little stiffer with the NC sound. Iconsi, ngoma. Iconsi, ngoma. Very good, mngani. Now, just one more thing with the letter C only. That is siyaphela. That is what we say when someone is telling a tale, a fable, a made-up story, so let's call it a fairy tale. We say at the end of it, siyaphela. So that's the end of the story. And so, when you repeat that after me, mngani, siyaphela. Very, very good, mngani. Now let's compare that with ncokola. Ncokola. Siyaphela. Ncokola. Very good, mngani. Do you feel that your tongue is moving very quickly off those teeth, of your teeth when you're saying? And the tongue is only touching with just the tip of the tongue behind your front teeth there. Whereas the NC sound is the whole front bit of the tongue, including the front tip. That's what's touching behind the teeth and the roof of the mouth. Now I'm done. Let's move on to the number of the week. The number of the week is ishuminane, which is 14 in English. Repeat that number after me, mngani. Ishuminane. Very good. Mngani, the numbers before 10, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, all the way to 9, those are units. After 10, so from 10 upwards, those are tens. And in isiZulu, we use place value when we speak of numbers, when we say our numbers. So from 10, that's 110, we move up to 11. But 11 is set this way. We say a 10 and 1 unit, which is ishumi nanye. Looking at that number, we have 3 parts to it. The word 10, which is ishumi, and then 2 letters, na, the N-A, which is and then lastly, the root of the number 1, which is nye. So that is a 10 and 1 unit. Ishumi na nye. Then we move on to ishumi nambili, a 10 and 2 units. Ishumi nantathu, a 10 and 3 units. And then brings us to today's number, which is ishumi nane. Now let's look at that number. We have the 10, ishumi. We have and, which is na. And then we have ne, just N-E. That is the root of the number 4 in isiZulu. Ne. The number 4 is kune. Kune. When we remove that prefix, ku, ku, we are left with the root of the number, which is ne. And that is what we take with us as we make those numbers that are above 10. Now, let's put this together now. Ishumi nane. Ishumi nane. Repeat that after me, mngani. Ishumi nane. Very good, mngani. Now let's have a look here. Oh, look at that. 14 sticks. In English, the noun sticks comes after the number, which is our adjective here, 14. In isiZulu, it's the other way around. We will start with the noun sticks and then the adjective, which is the number 14. But there's something that comes before the adjective, ishuminani, just before it. It's its prefix. What is it going to be since we see here on the screen that we have izinti, sticks, izinti. The word, that noun, starts with easy. And so, the adjective for that noun, whenever we describe that noun that starts with easy, we will always start with easy, easy. And since the noun, ibizo, is izinti, that means that our adjective, whatever that adjective is, it will always start with easy. Whenever we describe a noun that starts with easy, its adjective will always start with easy. Now, mngani, let's say 14 sticks in isiZulu. Izinti, ezi. What comes next? The number. Okay, if we say the number, let's have a look at it. Ishumi nane. Does that look correct to you, mngani? There's something wrong in this statement, in this phrase. Ezi ishumi nane. Yebo mngani, that's the problem here. We have broken one of the biggest rules in isiZulu, which is we just do not ever have more than one vowel next to each other, as you'll see in isiNgisi and other languages. A knife in French is couteau, right? A palace or castle in French is chateau. A cake in French is gâteau. A bird in French is oiseau. Do you see all of those words, mngani? There are all these vowels right next to each other. We don't do that in isiZulu. Let's have a look at isiNgisi, English. Book. 2 O's next to each other. We don't do that. Road. Read. Boat. We just don't do this in isiZulu. We can't have all those vowels right next to each other. I don't care how many they are, even if it's just 2 vowels, we don't do it. We can accept it for people's names, but look at Andile's name. Andile. When we say Andile, we say uAndile. But we separate those 2 vowels with a hyphen because, well, if we just put U right next to Andile, you might be confused and not know that this is a person's name. So it's always best to separate those 2 vowels with a hyphen in a person's name, a name that starts with a vowel. But we are not talking about any person's name here, mngani. We are describing something using a number, and we are saying 14 of those things. So here we are again. Izinti, ezi, ishumi, nane. What must we do with those 2 I's that are right next to each other? That's correct, mngani. We must separate those 2 vowels. Now, to know how to separate them, like which consonant to separate them with, we look at the second vowel. If the second vowel is I, the letter I, then we separate those words with Y, Y. Look at it now. This is more acceptable. Mngani, I would love it if you would remember this. Izinti eziyishumi nane. Repeat that after me, mngani. Izinti eziyishumi nane. Wonderful, mngani. Really, really good. That was wonderful, mngani. Now, when we describe a word that starts with ama, the adjective will always start with a. Now, mngani, here are, what's this? Yebo, mngani, amagwinya. We want to say 14 amagwinya. So, how are we going to say this ngesiZulu? And yes, mngani, we're not going to call them weird names like fat cake. It's not a fat cake. It's so different from a fat cake. So, let's just call it what it is. Amagwinya, even if we are speaking English or Yoruba or Swahili. Just call it what it is. Amagwinya. Just like we do when we speak of other words from other languages and we say spaghetti. We don't change the word to English. When we say pizza, we don't change the word to English. When we say biscuit, we don't change the word. When we say cookie, we don't change the word from German to English, do we? We say it in that language that it comes from. And so here it is. Amagwinya. I would like you to say 14 amagwinya. Yebo mngani, you are correct. Amagwinya ayishumi nane. Amagwinya ayishumi nane. Wonderful, mngani. You did really, really well. Now, mngani, we move on to the shape of this week. The shape of this week is a square. Now, listen to that word in English. A square. In isiZulu, we borrow that word and we say isikwele. Isikwele. That KW sound, kwe, 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 isikwele. The plural of it is izikwele. Izikwele. Great. Now, mngani, look at that. My favorite color. An orange square. How are we going to say an orange square? That's correct, mngani. Isikwele esiwolinchi. Isikwele esiwolinchi. And look at that. Brown squares. My second favorite color is brown. So I think today is just my day. Brown squares. The color brown in isiZulu is nsundu. Nsundu. So we want to say brown squares. We will start with the noun izikwele. Then now onto our adjective, the color. But before the adjective, the color itself, how do we start the adjective? We start it with the prefix. So if the noun's prefix is easy, that means the adjective's prefix is going to be ezi. Now let's write the full sentence. Brown squares. That's great, mngani. Izikwele ezinsundu. Izikwele ezinsundu. Wonderful. Mngani, let's look at these two sentences. Isikwele esiwolintshi. Izikwele ezinsundu. Now let's go back to the number one that we made earlier. Izinti eziyishumi nane. And amagwinya ayishumi nane. Look at these two, mngani. The sentences where we were describing the squares with a color, not a number, but with a color, they didn't have to be separated or whatever with the letter Y, because the color starts with a consonant. However, the numbers start with a vowel, and so they had to be separated with a consonant so that we don't have two vowels next to each other. Now I'm going to moving right along to the color of this week. The color of this week, mngani, is luhlaza okwotshani. Luhlaza okwotshani. The color green. Always remember, mngani, that colors start with a consonant. But once we are now saying the color green, or the green color is in a full sentence like that, then we say umbala oluhlaza okwotshani. So now we have a prefix before the color. We say oluhlaza. So now let's say that whole sentence, the color green, or the green color. Umbala oluhlaza okwotshani. Repeat that after me, mngani. Very, very good, mngani. Let's have a look at these pictures. Whew, that one stinks. I'm glad it's just a picture now, that it's not in real life. Okay, so anyway, this locust is called intotoviane. Intotoviane. In isiZulu. Repeat that after me, mngani. Intotoviane. Now we want to say a green locust. Intotoviane eluhlaza okwotshani. Oh, look at this. A green child. Ingane eluhlaza okwotshani. Ingane eluhlaza okwotshani. Now, mngani, when we say someone, we describe a person, we say they are luhlaza, we are saying that person is rude. So if we say ingane eluhlaza, we don't even have to continue with the whole word and say okwotshani, just eluhlaza. We are saying a rude child. We can say the whole thing and say ingane eluhlaza okwotshani, which also simply means a rude child. So get the difference between that once you are now saying a person is green, it's not the same as you would say in English, where you say a person is green with envy. In isiZulu, you would be saying that person is rude. Oh, look at that. A green juice. Oh, juicy. A juice. Now we want to say a green juice. Whenever we describe a word that starts with u, not ubu, but just u and another consonant, the adjective will always start with o. So let's look at this now. A green juice. You got it, mngani. Ujusi oluhlaza okwotshani. Ujusi oluhlaza okwotshani. Wonderful, mngani. Great job. I am so proud of you. Now, mngani, we've come to my favorite part of the board, which is izinombolo. Look at that. Izinombolo is a word and numbers, which is a noun, ibizo. So if we say a green noun, how would you say that? Ibizo eliluhlaza okwotshani. Good job, mngani. So let's say the numbers from 0 all the way to today's number 14. I'm going to say the numbers in a normal speaking pace, meaning I'm not going to slow them down, but I'm not going to speak them fast as well, because no one does do that in real life. So we're just going to be in the normal speaking pace. And I'm going to ask you and encourage you to say the numbers the way I am saying them. Make sure you get the tone right. Make sure you get the pronunciation correctly. So when I'm pulling a syllable, you must also pull it. Remember, we always pull the syllable right before the last one. Masqale. Let's start. Iqanda. Kunye. Kubili. Kuthathu. Kune. Kuhlanu. Isithupha. Isikhombisa. Isishiyagalombili. Isishiyagalolunye. Ishumi. Ishumi nanye. Ishumi nambili. Ishumi nantathu. Ishumi nane. Halala mngani, that was great. Now let's sing the numbers in isiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Bala kanye nami. Iqanda. Iqanda. Kunye. Kunye. Kubili. Kubili. Kuthathu. Kuthathu. Kune. Kune. Kuhlanu. Kuhlanu. Isithupha. Isithupha. Isikhombisa. Isikhombisa. Isishiyagalombili. Isishiyagalombili. Isishiyagalolunye. Isishiyagalolunye. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Izinombolo ngesiZulu. Wonderful, mngani. Now, before we go, I would like us to just stretch our bodies to move on to the next part of the day.
izandla, shona phansi, phezulu, eceleni, jikeleza, jikeleza, eceleni, gijima, zilule, shaya izandla, thumba kabili, eceleni, shona phansi, phezulu, shaya izandla, zilule, jikeleza, jikeleza, shaya izandla, eceleni, jikiza, jikiza, eceleni, shona phansi, phezulu, shaya izandla, thumba kabili, eceleni, shona phansi, phezulu, eceleni, zilule, zilule, phefumula, phefumula, hlala phansi.
Wonderful, mngani. We had a great lesson namhlanje. We've seen also how the weather keeps changing around in this season of ukwindla, autumn. Mngani, I am going to go and enjoy a cup of tea with igwinya because it goes so well with this kind of weather I am having namhlanje. I will see you tomorrow. Ngizokubona kusasa. Sala kahle mngani.